Hi everyone, I'm Mohammed Bilal and you're watching Trendsetters Academy. So today in this lecture I will tell you about PHP and Android, the connectivity about PHP and Android, how we connect PHP with Android. So it's quite lengthy, but don't worry about the thing. I figured out the solution that's quite really awesome and really easy. You will enjoy this thing. But before this, don't forget about subscribing and just watch this thing till the end of this lecture. You will find out that connection with PHP and Android is so easy. Okay, so let's start the lecture. For starting this lecture, the first thing here, I created some steps here for just creation, for just connectivity with PHP. So what these really steps are? The first step is we will find out there is some mysql in PHP. So here we create a database first, and then we create in database some tables, and then we insert some data in mysql. Okay, and then we create some get and post methods in step 2, and these methods are created in PHP. Okay, and what these really methods are, we will find out how these things are working there. Okay, and in step 3 we connect Android with mysql when the step 1 and step 2 is complete. Okay, and in step 3 we connect Android with mysql, and there are two different scenarios. Like the first one is we use get method and we connect Android using get method, and in step 2 I mean in B, the second thing, we get post method. Okay, and we see how this post methods work and how we connect with this post method, and in last we write the whole code and we run this code. Okay, so just remember the first overall these steps. Okay, and don't be so nervous about this thing, although the code is quite lengthy about this thing, but don't worry about this. Okay, the things are in steps and they are so awesome, so easy. Okay, so let's start this. Okay, at first I will show you the output, what really the output is. Okay, so we are creating a login application here. If you are seeing here, we are creating a login application. Okay, so in this login form there are two buttons, a username, a password, two text fields, to edit text fields, login button and login button. This login button shows the login get and the second one shows the login post. Okay, and it shows the detail here. So when I enter a username and a password and I say login get, this means this thing is getting data from your database. If the data is there, then what it show? If I click on the login get, it says the choose method, not login, not assigned, blah blah like that. Okay, and if I click on login get button, what it do? It's a login get method, login successful, and what really the login role is administrator. Okay, fine. And if I want to add the data, I want to post that data in my database. So how I do this thing? So I have to click on this post button. So when I click on this post button, it says the login method is post method and login successful and login role is administrator. So you can write anything else, whatever you want to be. So this is the output here. So let's find out how this code is working. So it's quite lengthy, but don't worry about this thing. So this is the chapter. Okay, Android, PHP, MySQL. I am following tutorial points here because it's quite really easy and it shows a simple and easiest step here. So in this chapter, in this thing, we are going to explain how you can integrate PHP and MySQL with your Android application. I told you before, this is very useful. Okay, blah 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 like that. Don't worry about this thing. MySQL is used as a database at the web server. Okay, fine. I know about this thing. It fetches the data from the database, and what it does is communicate with the PHP page and parameters and the contact with MySQL database and fetch the result. Okay, yeah, we really want to do this thing. Okay, so how we create the database? So here the thing is, In PHP MySQL, you are creating a database. You create MySQL database can be created easily using this simple script. Okay, so you have to write this script in PHP. Okay, so what you are doing, you are creating a tag here and you are creating some variable here like connection, and you are telling it there is some mysqlite connect method which shows that there is some connection, there is some username, and there is some password. So these three parameters are passing somewhere else. Okay, and there you have another variable here in which you are creating a table, create database, which database, mydb. So this is the query here. Okay, and here you are saying that if my SQL query the connection and SQL. Okay, so say if these things are true, then say database, my database created successfully. So these are the things which create your simple database. Okay, so now we are going to create a table in our mydb database. Once database is created, it's time to create a table. Yeah, so the create table statement creates the database. Okay, fine with this thing. So again in PHP tag, okay, again in PHP tag, creating some new file and say okay, I'm creating table.php, and there you can write this thing, create some variable connection, and write this thing my SQLite connect, and there's some three parameters. Okay, no, sorry, there's four parameters. Okay, the first one is the path, the second one is the username, the third one is the password, and now we have our DB where we want to create the table. So now our key is changed here, so we are creating a table here. The first column of the table is username with character 30, the second one is password, and the third one is role. Fine with this thing. And again we will say that if the connection SQLi, if the thing if the compilers pass through this method, so we'll say that our table is created successfully. So I hope this thing is clear. It's not some rocket science, it's quite clear thing. So here's another thing, inserting. Now we want to insert value in these tables. And this is a single table, so what we really want to do, we have to do same steps as we done before. So I don't want to explain this thing, I'm here to explain this query, that here we are inserting tables. Okay, so the first thing is first name, then last name, and then age. In values, the values might be admin and administrator. Okay, fine with this thing. I hope these things are clear. Okay, so now we are creating PHP get and post methods. So we created how many steps we cleared. So first step here, is PHP MySQL, creating database, creating tables, inserting data. Okay, so step 1 is cleared. Now coming towards step 2. Okay, and in step 2 what we are doing, PHP is also used to fetch the record from the MySQL database once it is created. In order to fetch record, some information must be passed to PHP regarding what record to be fetched. Okay, fine. Yeah, really, we have to do this thing. We really want this thing. The first method to pass information is through get method. Okay, in which $_get command is used. Okay, the variables are passed in the URL and the record is fetched. Its syntax is given below. So finally we find out that how we use this get method. So for using this get method, what you do is you are creating the same thing here, like a database name, password, username, a connection name here, and then you are saying if this thing is creating some error here, then tell that fail to connect to MySQL, and there must be some MySQL connect error method that pop up the error during training. Okay, so here is some username and password. What we are doing here, we are getting, are you seeing this thing? Okay, so these are the built-in methods, and what it do, it just username and passwords are in table columns. These are the names of the table columns. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just getting its data and putting it in this variable, getting this password and putting this in password variable. So in result, what it do, it get the whole data, it get the it creates connection, it pass the connections, and it select role from table 1 where username equals to username and password equals to password. So this means that this password, this username came from here. Okay, and this password came from here. So what it do, it just, if it find that yeah, the username and passwords are matching, it will fetch an array. There is another method, mysql fetch underscore array. Okay, so what it do, it just pass this result here, and the whole array will pass in this row variable. Okay, so I'm saying that on array 0, what it do, it pass this to this data, whatever the data placed in this row, it just pass to this data. So if this data, if this condition receives the data, so it prints the data, otherwise it's close the connection. Simply this is quite clear. This is quite tricky, like PHP is not like some sort of logical thing, but it's like a language here. Okay, so don't worry about this thing. So now let's see towards the next thing. The second method is to use post method. The only change is in the above script is to replace okay $_ with a $post. Okay, it saves over time. That's awesome. Thank you for this. In post method, the variable are not passed through URL. Okay, fine. So Android connection. Okay, fine. So this thing clear, that what we have to do for creating post method, we have to replace what underscore get method with underscore post method. So our post method also created. So our step 2 is created. Now what we are going to do, we have to create some connections Android with MySQL. So how we do this? Okay, and we are here using get method. So there are two ways to connect MySQL via PHP page. The first one is called get method. We will use HTTP get and HTTP client class to connect. The syntax is given below. So there is some HTTP client and HTTP get in Android. So now we are coming towards Android. Okay, so just forget about PHP and now comes toward our old thing, our friend Android. So here what Android is doing, we have to pass some HTTP get and client request. So here is our URL. This is the way that this is the URL link. Okay, and new URL, and here you are creating some object and pass some link there. Okay, where our page is, this link is basically our page. So don't worry about this thing, how this thing is working, I will show you later. Now in this lecture, there's a whole code, whole example is available there. Okay, what it do, there's some HTTP client, it gets some client, it gets data from this link. Okay, and what it do, there's some request, HTTP get class. What it do, it just get the things from this URL. So you are seeing this request dot set URI new URI. What to do, it's a link. Okay, so now after that you need to call execute method HTTP client class and receive its HTTP response object. After that you need to open streams to receive that data. Okay, so what it do, it HTTP response is there, it executes the request, and what there must be a buffer reader there, and what really buffer reader is doing here, it reads that data. Okay, it is reading the data from a file. There must be some file there where our data is stored. Okay, so it just reads the data and gets its data and gets everything which is present in that file. Okay, so now this is the way to connect via get method, and now we see how we connect post method with Android. So the same thing happens, there is URL link, there's data, and we are using URL encoders here. URL encoder, what I do, it gets username and UTF codes here. It's quite simply different, a little bit difference there, not much like that. and you're getting some connection, and you are here, you are open the connections, and the last thing you need to do is to write this data to a link. After writing, you need to open stream to receive the responding data. There is an output stream writer, okay, output stream writer, and what you do is the new output stream writer here, connection dot get output stream. So what you do, there is an output stream writer, and what you do is just write that data, whatever the data is there, whatever the data present there, you just want to, you have to write that data. And there is a buffer reader, and you are creating some object, and in object you are passing some input data and telling that I need this data, because you are just posting the data. So what really post means in your simple English, what really get means and what really post means. What I know about get means that you have to get some data, you have to get something from somewhere, and what post means you have to post some data, or you have to post something to somewhere. Okay, so here is the example here. So let's see what real example is there. The blue example is a complete example of connecting your Android application with MySQL database via PHP page. It creates a basic application that allows you to log in or find using get and post method, as I told you before. The same thing, PHP. Okay, this is the first part here. In this example, a database with the name of temp has been created at so this is the website here. Okay, in that database a table has created with the name of table 1. The table has 3 fields: username, password, role. The table has only one record, which is admin, admin, and administrator. The PHP page has been given below. Okay, fine. So just remember the steps. The first thing is you are getting a connection again. Okay, so here what you are doing is you are getting connection, you are giving the path, the web where there's some SQL, there's username, there's password, and this database name. Okay, and what you do, if there's some error, then it show okay my connections failed, and if there's no error, it just gets username and password, and what you do, it just passed in these fields. So now you are seeing there it's posting the data. So this means there's some data, it just get the data and pass it to this. So now what you do, it just select role from table 1 where username, this username and password to this. Okay, fine with the thing, and then it gets the record, and if there is data just show us the record, and then finished. So this is the PHP part. Okay, so now it comes to what SQL Android part. So this is only the thing. Okay, this is only the thing of PHP that you must create. Okay, because here is only the web is this thing, this connection, this location is reported. The here our web is placed. Okay, where we are using our PHP. So now what we do, we have to create some connections in Android. So there are some steps. You will do Android ID. Okay, fine with the thing and package. Okay, fine. You are using modifying main activity. Okay, and create another sign in activity, and you modify the layouts XMLs. Okay, and then modify some strings. We don't need this thing. Okay, just forget about this thing. And we are okay, fine with this thing. We are modifying Android manifest XML, and in last we have to run the application. So here is our main activity. What it do, it receives two text views, usernames and password text views. You are seeing here, just forget about these status roles methods. So what it do, it just receiving these username and password fields and place that data in these fields. Okay, so what it do, it's just receiving that data. Okay, username, password, status, role method. Okay, fine with this thing, and there is some login view method, there is some login method. When I clicked it might be thing that when I clicked on a button, what it do, it just pop up this login method. Okay, it just receive username, password text, and method dot set text get method. So here you are seeing it say dot set text get method, and it's open this sign in activity. Okay, and what it execute. Are you seeing this new sign in activity, and it's passed this uh, it passed the context, it passed the status, it passed the role and some array. Okay, and it say dot execute username and password. Okay, and there is some login post method, and the same thing happen, but you are seeing these things are changing. Okay, so for get method it used 0, and so for post method it used 1. So this is our main activity here. Just don't worry about this thing. It just open this sign in activity. When I clicked on this, it just open this sign in activity, and what it do, let's see the thing. So in sign in activity, what you do, it just gets text, status view, status field and role field, and there might be a context, and we are using some flag here for get or post method. Okay, flag 0 means get and 1 means post. Okay, fine with this thing. And here you are using some constructor or sign in activity where you are passing some context, getting some context, sorry, the status field, role, flag. Okay, and you are receiving this data from main activity. As I told you, show you before, you are seeing here like here you are seeing, like, you see this, are you seeing this? So if there is a 0, this means get method, and if there is 1, this means there's a post method. So here is the thing. So now we are using an async task here. This is quite an awesome thing. I thought I told you in my next lecture, but this is not a tricky thing. Async task is basically behave like a background style. Okay, like it do work in background and don't want to show anything. Like the best example for this async task is means about your progress bar, and the progress bar, there is a progress bar and just downloading or uploading a thing, and some processes are running behind the screen. So these processes are controlled by async task. Okay, these processes are some calculated and showed on the screen. Everything are done by this async task. And here what we are doing, we are creating connection between Android and PHP. So there must be some time taken. So for this we are using async task here. So you are seeing here these methods are overridden from async task. Okay, so doing background method is the overridden method from async task. Don't worry about this thing. What you do, it's just there's some flag here. If this flag is equal to 0, this means it's get method, and if this flag is equal to 1, this means it's post method. So if there's a get method, what it do, it just get the string, the zero array and the first array. The zero array, array 0 shows that there's a username, and array 0 of 1, the first index, shows this is the password. And here is the link where it shows that there's a username and password here. So here's our URL, and we are pasting this link here, and now this URL is working with the thing, and just go on with this. There's my client is here, HTTP client and HTTP GET. It just execute the request dot set URI, and it's just create another object here. Okay, this is some anonymous object here, and this is HTTP response here, and you are getting some response from client, and it shows execute the request. And in buffer reader, there's buffer reader. So buffer reader, as I told you before, it just what it do, it just reading that data there. If there is any data, it just read that data and show us on the screen. Okay, so there is a string buffer here, and I just tried it sp, and I told it that there this is an empty thing. Okay, and I created some lines and empty lines. Why I create some empty lines? So I need it here. I want to run this like till the end of line. I want to run my code. I want to read the whole database till the end of line. So how it might be possible? So this is the loop here, which this thing possible, like it's run until and unless the read line is not null. So if the thing is null, if the line is null, if the line goes to its end, so it just close. Okay, it's just reading the data and append it line by line. So it appends the data line by line, and if there is an issue, it just shows us the exception. Okay, so if you are seeing here that if post method, if by get or post flag is equal to 0, happen this thing, and if this is not, if there is some equal to 1 method or more than one or whatever, but then happen, so then this thing happens, like username or passwords 0 and 1, the same thing, there's a link, no issue about this thing. And here you are seeing these are the post methods, as I told you in my or hardly 3 to 4 minutes before. So what it do, it just gets a link, a data, URI code, data, and encode data. Okay, so this is the way how post works. So URI are getting and URL connections are here. What it do is just do output true, so it's just write that data wherever you want to be. So now we want to write the data, and we are reading the data and show it on the screen. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we want to write the data. So what it do, it just write the data and then just finished. Okay, so then what happens, then in next thing, buffer reader read the new buffer reader, and again it reads the data, and shows on the screen. So in string builder, what it do is it creates some builders classes, and in line it shows null. So now it say that if line equals to read line not equals to null, this means until and unless the same thing we are reaching to the end of line, and if we reach to the end of line, this loop breaks, and in last it's return the whole string, and if there's any issue it just returns some exception. And there in last we have some post execute method which receives some results here, and these results, this string, what it do, it shows us that if this status is successful, it shows login successful. Okay, and it set this text in result. So we done this thing, Android thing and the PHP thing. So how we import these things, HTTP client, HTTP get, HTTP post, and these. So these are coming from Apache or org.apache folder. So this JDK have no Apache folder. So how I can add these things, and how I tell my Android that you must work on these things. So for this, Android made our life so easy about this thing. There is some Gradle there, and what it do, we have to import this Apache library. So you must write these lines there. Okay, so now on it's quite an old lecture. So now on it's quite different, that you have to implement these lines. Okay, you must write the implementation here. I will show you in the code. I will place a link. If you find an issue, if you just paste this thing, and if you find the issue about this thing, then do let me know. I will show you how to do that thing. Okay, how to resolve this thing, because there are multiple links are available on this Google, these websites, many websites are there which are showing that okay, you have to paste this link. So let's go towards further. So there are two screens. So first we are creating some activity screen. So in activity, what I do, there are some two text fields, okay, where we have to write that data. So what really these data are? The first thing is it just swap the thing. So here at first it's there's this type is text password type. So this means this is some password there. And the second thing here, you have to write some username in text field 1, and in text field 2 you must write some password there. So what you do, there are some text views there that you have to write. This is username, there's an app, there's a role there, and there's some other text views there. Okay, so what you do when you click on button 2, so what really button 2 is, login post button. Okay, when you click on button 2, what it do, it operates this login post method. As I told you before, that in login post method is present in our activity, and what you do, it just invoke this method. Okay, and when I click on button 1, it will just operate the login method present there, and it's just response of get method. Okay, so these are the things here, and these are the things how it works there. And here are some strings present here that you have to write these things. No need for this thing. Okay, so there are some permissions there. You must write these permissions in your manifest file. This is so important that if you don't write these two lines, your code, even if your code is properly right, it will not run on the screen, and if you try to run it, it just show a blank screen. It just show a blank, like there's nothing there. Okay, so you have to write these things. So in last, when you run the code, you receive this screen. When you receive this screen, write some username and password, and then click on the login get button, and what you will receive. Okay, write these things there, and when you click on the login get method, what it do, it will show you that what really method you clicked, login, post, or get method. So it show you here in get method, there is some get method, so you clicked on get method, and what will the status is login successful, and there is a login role. The login role is administrator. Okay, so when you click on the post method, what did happen, it just post method, it shows the data login successful, and in last the role is administrator. You can do any sort of thing, but really the steps are the same, so don't forget about these steps. And I hope this thing is pretty awesome. Like, I tried to tell you each and everything in simple and easy way, so you understand each and every word here. So let's meet in next lecture, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm here to tell you each and everything about Android. Soon we will get some awesome applications, and I will upload some awesome codes there, like you never see those code before. And there are some quite tips and tricks about Android things, Android Studio, and we will develop the whole codes there. So don't forget to subscribe. Okay, and if you like this lecture, then click on the thumbs up button, and I will appreciate it. It's my honor to tell you about these things. That's pretty awesome. And we will meet in next lecture. Have a nice day, have a nice journey, and happy coding. Bye bye. Ta-da.
Hi everyone.